everyone, it's Dr. Jenny. I wanted to touch base with you and make a video on this new moon. It has been quite the past few weeks of healing, personally for me, and I'm not sure if you've been feeling it too. I know in December there was a lot of purging and a lot of course correcting and seeming like we're getting things out of our body. If you are on this journey at this point of your life, and I've also been noticing that the division of the timelines that sometimes gets talked about in the New Age community is definitely coming to fruition. So one of the things I wanted to update you on is that I'm still not back in the United States. That will likely change sometime later this year. I'm due for at least a visit. But the reason for that is that energetically, the energy outside the United States has been far more grounding for me. And it's been a time of contemplation to think about why that's been important at this particular part of my journey. And the groundingness is related to my connection with the divine feminine, right? So, part of the awakening experience has been for me going through the full process of my energy and Kundalini energy rising, reconnecting with the divine, remembering many past lives, remembering some really beautiful past lives. Have been amazing memories of past lives with past life husbands and soul connections and people that I've met very briefly, often through my dating relationships. That's are just ancient soul ties with beautiful memories. And then walking the path of the past 3 years of doing the painful work of remembering the really not so cute past lives. So that kind of energetic recalibration for the physical body is hard, right? So it's energetically taxing to do that much meditation work, to clear the mind and to rewrite the stories of what is going on in the drama in the relationships in your life. It's very difficult to step back and realize that you were wrong on so many levels about the reasons why people were coming into your life, and to take responsibility on a spiritual level that you may not have done such cute things in past lives. And certainly that's been the case for me. So to go through that process where we talk about the energy rising as a liberation energy, that masculine energy rising and connecting to your higher self and the soul, and continuing to ascend, those ascension symptoms can be really beautiful and can lead to a lot of experiences of the lights and a lot of just wonderful aspects of spirituality and reconnecting to the universe or the divine or God or whatever it is that you believe in. And it can be an opening for creativity and arts and manifestation and all those things that are being discussed right now. But if you're like me and your soul has been tied to much of the ancient wisdom teachings of the divine feminine, there is going to be a real urge to not spend so much time up there. And I remember reading in a book, it must have been 2017, 2018, when I was very confused about my path, but I was following the collective, and now have gone back and reread some of the books and understand why I was being pushed in that way, to understand the feminine path. In this particular book, which is about womb healing and the divine feminine, these doctors, medical doctors who've walked this path of sacred union, or, very much related to the history and tie of the Magdalene energy that's on the planet, that's been active for quite some time, talks about the choice, right? That's what's coming, the choice to whether or not you're going to stay up here with the masculine energy and just be there, or if the choice is going to be come down into the physical body for embodiment and to really learn about the divine feminine energy. And not everyone is scheduled in this lifetime to do one both. I think it's a real privilege to do the soul work where you might be able to experience both and to find some more balance in your physical body and to clear out everything that no longer serves you, and to rewrite all of the relationship stories so that you can really begin a new chapter in your life. And today is a new moon, and it's a powerful new moon, and it's a new moon about reclaiming kind of who you are, especially for women right now, and to let go of the past. And I think that through my 20-year career of doing relationship work, which was not the path I was supposed to do, but I did it. My soul chose it for a reason. And what I've learned from doing that work is that the stories that we see in the beginning and the experiences that we have in the beginning of our marriages, our relationships, our work relationships, dating relationships, what's going on in social media, our reactions to other people right away, is simply not always truth. Right? But until we begin to walk our journey and walk our path, we can't see the real story. We can't see energetically behind the veil. When we talk about the veil, it's almost like this cloth that's hanging between the reality before you walk your journey and the truth after you start walking the journey. It's the reality before you remember your soul mission on this planet. And I remember when I recovered the memory of the reason why I'm on the planet at this particular time, and it's particularly related to my parents' relationships. And it's taken a very long time to recover the memory of my relationship to my dad and how many lifetimes that goes back to. But I chose to come in this lifetime because I believe in romantic love so much, and my parents were struggling, really, really, really struggling. And it was my dad who held the light, right? The light is the masculine energy and the connection to something beyond. Many people will call it God. Other people call it the universe. It could be whatever it is that you think it is. But that is a theme for 2024, is that masculine energy. And that's who he was. And he was struggling. And he was struggling because, for a multitude of reasons, but in this particular lifetime, he was supposed to remember how to heal his mental health troubles. He was supposed to remember. My father has a history of being a shaman in a past life. He's been very, very spiritual in many past lives, right? So his journey was supposed to be remembering how to heal the mind, and then later remembering how to heal the physical body. Together, my parents were supposed to do both of those things. They did not. Right? So as many of you are walking a healing journey right now that came out of the blue because it was passed down to you because our parents didn't do the work. And they may have tried to do the work. I know that my family, has done therapy, right? Which was something unheard of given the amount of alpha male like energy and business and entrepreneurship energy that flows through the family. To get everyone into therapy was huge progress. To get everyone on my mother's side an education, huge progress, right? But the healing of the physical body and the healing of our reconnection, our father wounds, were actually supposed to take place in our parents' generation. And things didn't go according to plan. And that is the reason why many of us, the past few years, have been forced on this healing journey, because this is work that needs to be done. So I have a great deal of compassion and respect if you have been walking this journey. Many of you, however, might be starting, or it's just you're not on this journey, right? And that's part of this little division that is coming about. Because the next generation may not actually need to be doing healing work. They're kind of already here embodying what we're calling the light. Their physical bodies are different. Right? They don't hold the emotions. They don't hold the trauma. They don't hold the karma in the same way that the older generations did, which is why things are so confusing right now, and why it can be hard for you to figure out what path or what journey you're supposed to be taking. And I can tell you point blank that I would not have gotten as far as I did if I did not seek out help or relate to human beings as teachers, as mentors, as supervisors in the way that I did over the past 15 years. And I have tried many different things, and by far the most powerful has been the energetic activations of other people who are further along on the path, yoga, meditation, and just learning about energy and really walking a journey that was very much triggered by what some people will call a twin flame activation. I have gone through it twice now where it has not necessarily been the real, that twin flame, but it's been an activation. It's part of the remembering and it's part of the healing process. And part of this has been ancestral healing work. So rather than become the artist or the actress or whoever I was supposed to really be at a younger age, the writer, the active, the creative, was really what my soul path was at a younger age, probably also a dancer. There was so much trauma, so much financial trauma, and just so much karma stuck in my physical body and my energetic body that my soul chose to heal. And the way that it started to choose to heal was after the death of my father. I chose to go into the field where he was struggling in order to change the field. Right? So we've seen over the past 20 years that this has changed. There are more options for holistic psychology. We call it transpersonal psychology. It's very active on the West Coast. We see that people are going to shamans and exploring other things, and it's not necessarily weird in the United States or Western culture anymore. It might be weird in other parts of the world, but certainly progress has been made in the United States. So things have changed, right? So part of that soul contract I had with my father that I did not know I had, but I did, has been completed. And so much of my soul contracts with my family have been completed and it's done. And it can be very hard when by nature you are the embodiment of a new version of the masculine energy coming to the planet, to sit the past few years and realize, oh, I have done so much healing work without knowing I was doing healing work in my career, with my clients, by just the activities I was interested in, by the people that I was meeting. I have done so much healing work. The universe has basically been telling me to rest and to wait because something new has to come. Right? So sometimes you're in a waiting period and a resting period because the physical body needs to recalibrate, but also because you've done so much work. New lessons or new things or new opportunities now need to be able to come to you. And the resting and the sitting and the healing, honestly, it's been really hard for me. So even during this time that I was resting, that was the time I wrote my first book. And it's a book that the universe is not particularly fond of. And there's been a lot of energetic complications. And then there's another book. Again, there's energetic complications. That one is with an editor right now. And here I am with my soul being very, very stubborn about that I've never done anything and not finished it. Right? That's part of being very grounded with both my masculine and feminine energy. That's who I am and have always been. But it's been the experience to wake up and realize that the reason why I was that way was because I was born in the United States on masculine energy land. So my feminine energy had help from the land. And then I was born into a family with way too much masculine energy. And that is the reason why I was so career focused when I was young, and that was not necessarily supposed to be my path. So if you are one of my young female clients, this is an important message for you to listen to. Everything is an individualized journey. Everything is individualized, and you make choices along the way. But when I made the choice in my early 20s to not get married and have my family, I set up a different timeline for myself. And it's that timeline that's complicating this transition in my life right now, because I was supposed to. And that was part of the important things for me to do when I was younger, was supposed to have a traditional family and to take care of children. And that did not happen because I chose a career. Because I chose a career, there was no other choice during my Saturn return in my late 20s, going into my early 30s, to trigger something else, right? So that is why I have been on this healing journey for probably many lifetimes. And that has involved romantic relationships and has involved the activation of, we need a new phrase for it, twin flame healing, whatever it is. It's all been activated, and it's a very, 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 very difficult journey when you are used to having your independence and making solo choices your entire life. Learning how to move from a place of just doing what you want to being energetically collaborative, not just collaborative with other human beings in the way that we talk about having good social skills, but energetically collaborative, to understand how energy between people work, is a really, really challenging transition, I think, for most Americans, but especially it's going to be incredibly challenging for women in the United States and Western culture who value or who have gravitated towards the masculine energy like I did in my 20s, which was not necessarily the right path for me at that time. That path was chosen, the career path was chosen, because I also didn't meet the right person. And I think that what is coming to the planet right now is the understanding of how much your culture, your community, and your family, the energy, not their values necessarily, but the energy of the people that you spend time with, are shaping who you meet and will continue to shape who your dating options are. So until you harness and really learn about energy and learn about who you really are and do your ancestral healing and do a deeper dive, it can seem like things are happening just through fate. It can seem like that, things are just, you're following the universe and things are just happening. But if they're not happening in a way that brings you into a place of higher levels of happiness and joy, there are energies that are interfering that you need to go learn how to deal with. And so that is the work that I have been bringing up with clients. And there's a lot of resistance to thinking about that you got married to a particular person because you never cleared the energy related to your relationship with your father and your father wounds related to your religious background. Right? You're not happy in your marriage because you haven't cleared all that old energy. You don't actually know who you are because you haven't cleared that old energy. Many people who are supposed to be creative, I can think about everyone that's born in 1980 and 1981 is supposed to be transitioning right now into a Leo North Node by Western astrology. And there's a lot of energetic interference right now because for some of us, if you look at a Western astrology chart, it's a Leo North Node. If you look at a Vedic chart, it might be something different. And so it represents the masculine and the feminine versions of a birth chart. And I can tell you that I feel like I have been fighting between the two of them, and yet have always had a deep, deep, deep knowing that I am supposed to be connected to my Western astrology chart, which is the Leo North Node. And there has been so much energetic interference on, from very karmic energy coming from India to get me onto this more feminine path. And I feel like I've gone as far as I can, and I will continue to surrender as much as I can, but it doesn't resonate. And so the past few years have definitely been not only challenging in terms of the spiritual healing, but it's been incredibly challenging on my finances, incredibly challenging on my business, and incredibly challenging to feel good about myself, because there's quite honestly been a little bit too much feminine energy flowing through my body as part of a rebalancing and a healing process and a learning about all this stuff at a higher level. And so if, you've been feeling like you get, pulled in different directions, there's probably a reason for it. And there's learning there for you. But this learning at the spiritual part, or the spiritual psychology, the transpersonal psychology of figuring out, okay, how do I clear out the financial wounds? Because I'm choosing to work on my masculine energy, and I want to restart my business, and things aren't flowing the way they should be. What needs to be cleared? Choosing to do more relationship-oriented work, choosing to see things from a much more spiritual perspective is not necessarily the realm of psychotherapy. The realm of psychotherapy is very much about, you have a medical need to heal your anxiety, your depression, trauma, right? That can be identified either relational or otherwise. And there needs to be an honoring and respect that in our Western culture, that is now a medical diagnosis that needs a treatment plan. That is what therapy is for. Therapy is not supposed to necessarily be for personal development. Therapy is very much about going back into the past in this lifetime and doing some deep work. It can be about doing a lot of the work in the unconscious if you're in analytic or psychoanalysis. And that is a really huge commitment. That's multiple times per week over a long period of time. And most people will not choose that. So what's happening is that, yes, more and more people are going to therapy, which is in Western culture, which is great. You're going once a week, maybe twice a week if you're in a crisis, and you're still wondering why things aren't changing. Things aren't changing because that's just the beginning, right? And so that's the beginning. That's like the little drop in the ocean, but there's all of this other wisdom and things to learn over here. And I have been finding that most clients need the things over here, but for financial reasons are only choosing to use their health insurance benefits. And that's a start. But there needs to be boundaries between what the licensed mental health community can provide and what all the other healers and the spiritual teachers can provide at this particular point in time, until we all begin to come together and figure out how we're going to make this work for most people. And I have to say that psychotherapy is very much related to unblocking the energy of your root chakra, which would be related to your finances. And so it could be a good beginning intervention for people. But to do the real ancestral work on a higher level that would energetically move things along, and to get you moving in your career, moving forward into this new transformational energy, I can tell you that there's just other things that are needed that need to come out of the coaching world. And so this, I'm making this video to begin the process of explaining the differences between therapy and coaching. And I know some of you will be having private conversations about it. But as the world continues to change, our concept around money and our concept around how we're going to pay for things needs to also change. I know that during this 20-year journey, everything I have done, everything I've wanted to learn, everything that I have trained to do always came within my budget and my price range, and I have paid out of pocket for basically all of it. Right? Even my psychotherapy. I would say now that there's so much technology in the Western world, especially the United States, that helps you get reimbursed, that if that existed at the time, 20 years ago when I started, then of course I would be seeking out of network reimbursement, but none of this existed. None of it, right? So there really is no more excuses. In the United States and Western culture, we have a responsibility to the rest of the world to do our emotional healing work. That energy is causing havoc all over the world. So when you are posting on social media and doing things from the Western culture, that's venting about the state of the world, or venting about war, or venting about all the negative things that are going on. My question to you is, that energy of sharing on social media needs to be left to the part of the world that is documenting the atrocities. My question to you is, in the Western world, what are you doing to clear your own energy so that you can be of support to the rest of the world? Because that is what our role and responsibility is. As being a country that sits on masculine energy land, we are supposed to be the structure and the support for those people living in countries that are the feminine energy. And none of the masculine energy countries are doing a very good job, which is the reason why we have chaos. And it's the reason why there is so much discussion about colonialism, so much discussion about finances, so much discussion about emotions and relationships and energy in general, because the masculine energy just doesn't listen. And that's what we keep seeing over and over and over again. There's a lack of understanding of how to move all this stuff into a better place. So we're trying, right? And we kind of are a little bit in a holding place. But what I would say is, and to begin to encourage you, is to understand that those people who walk this path before you and have done their healing work have worked really hard, and they didn't do it alone, right? So the mindset around money is usually the biggest block for all of us. And I know that it has been a significant theme because I come from entrepreneurs on both sides of my family. And I come from entrepreneurs who have struggled on one side of the family, who have recently had some significant financial success. And then I have on the other side of the family that on paper and in public looks like they have done a remarkable job with family business. But karmically and energetically, there was so much darkness that came from the end of World War II, when that business was originally started. And given the state of the world, we're kind of repeating a cycle from that time period. And what happens, and I think this is common, everyone needs to survive. And if you are part of the generation that continues to see war, if the war or economic depression and bad things keep happening, that you are going to do whatever it takes to take care of your family. And that is how businesses get started. But that's also how negative energy gets attached to money and causes drama in families that gets passed from generation to generation. So it's no mistake that a third generation business usually begins to flounder, and that it oftentimes does not end up in the hands of a family member at that particular time. And we keep talking about it, it's just like family drama. But from the energetic or the shamanic, or from the priestess perspective, the drama represents very, very, very deep karmic wounds around business and money. And I can tell you from my experience and my healing experience, thousands of years of arguing over who would be in charge of the ancient temples, right? That's what my soul has begun to wrap its head around and remember and remember and remember. The men in my family and the souls in my family, not that anyone should be blamed in this lifetime, but the souls were the souls that continue to steal the ancient temples from the women in my family. So of course there's going to be drama. Of course there's going to be chaos around finances. Of course, it makes sense once you begin to recover those memories of really bad things that happen, and you begin to do your father wound healing work, which is usually triggered by a relationship, and then will take you on a path to healing religion and spirituality in general. And as a woman, you will begin to see how many lifetimes your power was taken, all the bad things that happen, including sexual assault and just drama. And you will remember how powerful you are, and the wisdom tools and the techniques and the things that you've learned over thousands of years that are going to be very much needed right now, because we are in a cycle of re-experiencing, and we're seeing it through war right now. It's a re-experiencing. We just keep repeating cycles over and over again until we all wake up and figure it out. So if you're listening to this and you're one of my clients, especially if you're in the United States, there's a reason why you're being called to do the work, right? We're not we can have fun. We certainly can have fun, but there is an energetic mirroring effect from one side of the world to the other side of the world. And if there is so much fun, we are neglecting our responsibilities on one side of the world, we are actually potentially energetically hurting the other side of the world that's going to start purging their emotions at such a high rate, it will be destructive. Right? So we need to begin to understand that with the energy shifts that are coming in a new cycle for the next 20 or so years, those of us who are connected to the masculine energy in the plant, we have a responsibility to do our work and, yes, to have fun, but not at the expense of telling everyone to go F off, and not at the expense of forgetting everything we've had the privilege to learn by being born in a country that has provided some energetic stability and with the masculine energy, when our ancestors may have come from other countries that needed that energy. We very, very, very much are going to be asked to step up to hold space for the rest of the world that's going to need this space to fall apart. So if you're in therapy, your therapy is a microcosm of what is going to need to happen in the rest of the world. So if you're going to therapy once every 6 weeks, and you're not going consistently, but you're going once every 6 weeks, how do you expect the war and the other side of the world to do their healing work? You're not even committed to coming into a virtual office once a week to do your work. How do you expect there to be change in the world? It's just not going to happen. So whether it's through your dance classes, through movement, whatever it is, I don't think anyone really cares. It's your soul's plan. You do what you need to do, but there needs to be some kind of commitment now and some kind of discipline that's coming for those of us who hold the space for the masculine energy. And that has been the reason why yoga has become more and more popular, because it is one avenue towards learning how to appreciate the discipline of a masculine energy, or to appreciate the Shiva, the energy of the masculine. And that's not something we're really interested in having fun right now. So we have to figure out what our own soul plan is, and to figure out what feels right to us, but to begin to have a bigger vision for the whole world, because the future is going to very much show up in all of our lives about how energetically interconnected we really are. So if the rest of the world is falling apart, or if the finances in other parts of the world are not working, or the economies in other countries are not working, this will have a mirroring impact in our own personal life, our personal finances, our country's finances, everything, and will be connected. So we can't live like on a farm by ourselves without paying attention to the rest of the world. That's just not going to be the reality any longer for the future. We are going to be globally interconnected, and we're going to be energetically interconnected. So when something on one side of the world happens, it has a particular impact on us on the other side of the world. And from the clients that I've seen this week, because there is so much darkness on the other side of the world, it's raising this energy in the United States, and everyone is very much in love and getting puppies and doing all this kind of beautiful stuff, but it's ungrounding you. And I can speak from personal experience. I have been through this cycle of energy before, and if you are deeply connected to the feminine energy, not being grounded will be destructive, not only to your finances, but to your mental health. Right? So we need more, many of us in the United States are going to need more grounding. And yes, we can get grounded through nature, but we also need to get grounded in our sense of responsibility and our sense of, getting on our own true path. right? And that's not easy to do on your own. Part of the reason why you go to therapy is because you actually need the masculine energy of the therapist, who is usually very grounded and traditional, to help you energetically ground. The reason why you go to your transformational coach and or priestess is because you need a different kind of energy. And sometimes you have no idea what energy it is that you need, but you have an intuitive knowing about what direction to take. And many of you are not following your intuition right now because it's hard to realize we're at a crossroads where we need to move away from the traditional path. So the reason why I have kept insurance-based psychotherapy in my business is because I know how difficult it is to transition from one thing to the other, to go from something super structured that sounds familiar to me to trying completely new things that will take me out of my comfort zone. I've walked that path. So until the transformation has taken place more collectively, this will be a service that I provide for some people. And it's, just an explanation that if you're really ready to do some more spiritual work, or you want a major transformation in a shorter period of time, it's completely possible. We do not need to be doing this work for 20 years. Had I understood and had been explained, had I met spiritual people earlier, it wasn't until I was probably in my mid-30s that I even met a priestess, and I didn't even know what a priestess was. And yet that is the path that I was supposed to be on at a younger age. So part of the activation process that does happen when we meet people who are, more spiritually enlightened or further on the path is not happening right now because we are very much isolated in our homes, and we are taking care of we're really trying to take care of ourselves. So those of us who have been on a spiritual path or doing real healing work to get back on our true path are not socializing like we did before. So the spontaneous activations are not necessarily happening in the same way. So it does take a commitment and a concerted effort to say, you know what? I'm interested in working with the mind, and I want to go to this particular psychologist or this particular therapist to go and learn, and that's my choice. Or to say, you know what, I'm really interested in heart-based work and I love the body, let me go to yoga. Or to say, you know what, I really need to do that, religious healing, and I keep getting signs from Magdalene energy or the goddesses or whatever is going on, and so I want to go explore, that path. None of them are wrong. They're all equally available. And now we have holistic healing of the physical body. If you are experiencing symptoms in your physical body, all of these paths are available now for all of us. But the thing that's holding us back has to do with finances and George's willingness not to pay or figure out how to pay, and the mindset I have always had around my healing is that if I need to see that person, I will make it happen. If I have to sacrifice not going out and having cocktails with friends, I'm gonna make it happen. If I need to prioritize my further education and not buy my house, then that's what I need to do right now, because the learning will end and then I can move on into a different phase. It is a commitment, it's a soul commitment to doing this work. And that's what I want you to begin to think about, because the energy in 2024, we had a taste of it in March 2023, that energy is going to bring us up and we're going to feel like we're having a party, and that is going to be real fun for quite some time. But if you've ever been in like the modeling industry, or if you've hung out with creatives and artists long enough, you know that if you are not grounded enough, that energy becomes destructive. And either it becomes destructive because you're too in your head and you cannot plan and organize a business, and you cannot plan and organize a life, and you are too pulled by other people's drama and lifestyle choices, or you are just floating around and you are not going to be able to manifest the life that you really want. So this is just kind of a little bit of a 411 of, especially if you are single, learning how energy works between people is going to be really important. And many of you have work colleagues or business colleagues or soul contracts that need to be cleared because they're holding you back. It's the energy of other people because you don't understand how the energy works. And I can see it in your physical bodies when we do yoga. I can see it when we talk. I can see it. Some of you also need to let go of your family members who are not going forward with this energy. They're going to be staying in place, and you're stuck in a grieving process, right? And that work can be done in psychotherapy, but it can also be done through Reiki and other healing modalities. Like, we don't need to suffer anymore. And there's also a ton of free stuff on YouTube and on the internet these days. So the wisdom that is needed is learning how to navigate the options. But what I've been finding really, really interesting is that the parts of the body that is most blocked for my clients coming from the United States has to be the mental energy. And you're coming in and you're showing up like you're children who need to be taken care of. And that is going to be the healing work that, therapists and wellness professionals and yogis do for a Western culture, because you're not little kids. You're not little kids anymore, and there is a level of responsibility and healing that needs to take place so we can hold space for the rest of the world to do real trauma work. The rest of the world is going to have a need to do trauma work. When my original profession started after World War II, it started because we had so many orphans from World War II, and we thought we knew how to take care of them. That modern psychology at that time set up orphanages, and we thought that if you had food and that you had water and just a human being to make sure you were still alive, that you would be fine. You're a baby. You didn't know there was a war that took place? That is not what happens. The relationship science world started because of the observations of medical doctors that saw grief and depression because babies lost their parents in that war, and the interventions that needed to happen with regard to neuroscience, brain development, and relationships in general comes out of that experience. So the good news is that we know how to do the healing work on the other side of the world. The bad news is that we are repeating this particular cycle. So you're going to start to see mental health professionals with a trauma background not have time to talk about your ex-boyfriend sitting in New York City, because we're going to be called to begin this cycle and this process of helping either through training or support or in some kind of way to do real trauma work in other parts of the world that are going to need more science to do that work. There needs to be a balancing of energy. What you're going to get called to do is to begin to do the spiritual work and to begin to understand things from a higher level spiritual perspective, and to be invited to move along the path of healing to understand your role in kind of the greater worldwide healing paradigm. So this is the reason why I have been pretty quiet, because I've done a lot of date coaching work. I actually enjoyed personal shopping with my clients. I enjoyed working with my male clients. I did a lot of that work, and it was fun. But again, we're being called, all of us, to think about how we're going to serve. How are we going to serve? And you can serve in many different ways. You can serve as a creative artist. You can serve in different ways, but it does take an inner knowing and the healing now to understand and to wake up and to figure out what that path is. And I feel very strongly that the mental health community is being trained right now because of the international work that is going to be needed to hold space for what is happening right now. And so therefore, when that energy gets activated sometime in the next few years, the drama with your dating life is these people are not going to be available to you. That drama can be dealt with in a multitude of different ways, and you will probably learn how to do it on your own through the spiritual work that you're being asked to do. So that is my video updates, and let me know if you have any questions. It's also just the ongoing conversation that the whole world will be having about the difference between therapy and coaching, because they really are supposed to serve. There can be a lot of overlap for someone who has a license because they're trained to do both, but there needs to be boundaries right now for energetic purposes, and there needs to be an openness to that you are likely going to be asked to work with different kinds of people for energy reasons, and you need to trust your intuition. This new moon is inviting you to begin to trust your intuition about what it is that you really need, and to not think so much about how you're going to pay for it. Right? That's manifestation. That's law of attraction. That is energy that is active right now. If you decide right now that you want to do a 3-month coaching program with a transformational coach who is a priestess or doing some kind of spiritual work, and it excites you and you want to learn, that coach is going to make it possible for you, or that credit card is going to make it possible for you, or PayPal credit is going to make it possible for you. I think PayPal credit has probably been the best invention for buying coaching packages, because it's like 6 months, no interest or something like that, right? So we have to begin to move beyond, things aren't quite stable. Yeah, in the United States, they're far more stable than they are when I channeled the complete economic crash of Lebanon in 2016, or what is going on in the Middle East right now, or the economic craziness of the energy of money going on in the world, or the rise of crypto, or whatever is going on financially with the energy of money right now. You are blind to seeing the changes that are coming, and you're living in fear, and that fear is from the ancestors, and it is time to heal it. So those of us living in the masculine energy countries, we can do our job of holding space for the rest of the world. So if you have an interest in doing ancestral healing work specifically around because you have family businesses that didn't go well, or you feel like there's energetic influences on your money, or that the family drama is interference with your career and your finances that would make purchasing a higher level coaching package possible with the person that, not necessarily with me, but with any coach, or to do any kind of personal development work, or to go on that retreat, or do whatever it is that you want to do, then that is the offer that I'm putting on the table for everyone today, because clearing out the ancestral karma related to business, poverty consciousness, and finances is probably the most empowering work that you can do, next to the relationship work. And oftentimes you're going to find out that they're very, very interconnected. And we've been focusing a lot on relationships, but it's not necessarily enough to clear out some of this other material stuff, this root chakra stuff, that's going to make it necessary for you to thrive in this next cycle. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on either Instagram or through email. And if you are a client who's interested in applying for the insurance program, the credentialing process is almost complete. It's likely that this is not going to be a problem. I've also contracted with companies to make it really easy to get your out-of-network expenses paid. There literally is zero excuse other than usually fear of moving forward and a desire to actually do your work. But 2024 has been dubbed the year of the light worker, and I'm calling it the rise of the humanitarian, because I believe there are lots of souls on this planet that may or may not be light workers, but they are going to feel the energy shift coming, and they're going to want to serve and to help, and the planet is desperately going to need the support. So if you are one of these people who resonate with humanitarian values, and you feel like you cannot afford your education, your personal development, your healing, this is the invitation for you to think outside the box and ask, and to figure it out, and to realize that there's lots and lots and lots and lots of options. But do not let this constrictive energy hold you back any further. So go ahead and reach out if you have questions. Let me know what topics of conversation you are interested in. It can be really hard for me to put out content, which is why I don't do it often. if I'm actually not hearing from you about what would be helpful and what would be necessary. So go ahead, send emails if there's something that you're interested in. And I hope that you have a really wonderful day and that you enjoy the process of this new moon and beginning to think about and manifesting what it is that you really desire. And I'm a big fan of vision boards, and there's apps for that now. We don't even need to cut out on magazines anymore, although that can be fun. So I have lots of new things on my vision board, and some of it has actually started to kind of percolate into manifest already. So I'm going to encourage you to use this energy over the next 3 days to continue to do your manifestation work and to step beyond the perceived limitations that if you put something out there, you can't afford it, when in reality, the universe is going to make it happen for you. I'm not quite sure in what direction it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So enjoy your day. Bye.